Hey guys, it's Celestia, and today I'm going to be talking about something that I really didn't want to have to talk about, mostly because I had naively hoped that things would be resolved before there was really anything to talk about at all. Unfortunately, although not necessarily unexpectedly, that's not what happened. As I'm sure almost everyone is aware of at this point, Donald Trump has imposed some very significant tariffs on a multitude of countries trading with the United States for a multitude of reasons. This channel is not an appropriate place for me to discuss politics, so I'm not going to be talking about my opinions on the president or his reasoning for imposing these tariffs. I'm solely going to be discussing those tariffs themselves because they are the reason I'm making this video. To preface this, as a lot of you know by now since I do mention it pretty regularly, I'm Canadian, meaning those tariffs have been a dark cloud hanging over the future of my art business since the moment they were threatened. But because the implementation of these tariffs involved so much back and forth with Trump changing his mind near constantly about whether or not they'd be put in place at all, I and many other small business owners, while uneasy and anxious about the situation, were unsure of what to expect in terms of whether or not anything would happen at all. Many of us expected a resolution before the entire situation began to impact us personally, or at least hoped for one, myself included. That is not, however, what happened, and now I have officially been forced to basically close my Etsy store where I've been selling my art for 8 years, a position a lot of non-American artists are now in as well. Because of how serious and wide-reaching this entire issue has become, not just for me, but for what I imagine is a fairly large number of my audience as well, I felt it was important to explain what's going on, what happened to my store and why, what other artists based outside of the US need to know about how this could impact them, and what any Americans watching this should know about why the non-American artists that they may buy from might no longer be able to sell to them. Up until this point, most independent artists selling their work weren't heavily impacted by the tariffs because of what's called the de minimis exemption. It previously allowed any order valued under $800 to enter the US duty-free, meaning that those tariffs would not be applied to the majority of merch that artists sell. That isn't to say we weren't impacted at all, as prices for materials, print on demand, and shipping have all risen to a degree, at least in my experience, but I personally wasn't impacted to the point that my business was no longer able to operate. As of August 29th, 2025, however, that is no longer the case, and by executive order, the de minimis exemption has been suspended for all countries trading with the States. All goods shipped to the US, regardless of their value, will be subjected to the tariff rate of their country of origin, which for Canada is currently 35%. Now, while this is going to apply devastatingly to all artists selling their work in any non-US country, I'm personally only informed on how it will affect Canadians specifically, so keep that in mind when I talk about the details here, since they won't all be accurate everywhere. I imagine it'll be fairly similar globally, but there will obviously be differences in terms of how each country handles this, and of course differences in their tariff rates as well. So what does this mean for us? Well, honestly, that's still incredibly unclear. I'm personally seeing conflicting news constantly as to whether or not these tariffs are even legal, and there are new headlines every day going back and forth between the tariffs are here for good and the tariffs are illegal and need to go. I don't think I would have taken action myself at all on this before, simply because of the uncertainty surrounding the entire situation. I didn't want to jump the gun if this was going to be a temporary problem that was rolled back 3 minutes after I closed my store and made a video. But it's not just media coverage that I'm basing this on anymore. I've received emails from Etsy, Printify, my print-on-demand production partner, and Canada Post themselves, all confirming that this is very much real, urgent, and in need of immediate consideration and action. How long this is going to continue may remain unclear, but whether or not it really is currently happening is not. It is, and the consequences it's having right now, even if not forever, are bad. As of recording this, there are only 2 ways for non-Americans to ship anything to the United States now: by using a delivery duty paid or DDP shipping option, or by using a delivery duty unpaid DDU, or delivered at place DAP option. I've included Etsy's list of carriers that provide these options for all countries, not just Canada, in the description so that you guys can see if any of them work for you. If you use the DDP shipping option, you have to pay the tariff yourself when shipping the order. For Canadians, that means paying 35% of the order's total price in addition to the shipping price just to be able to send it. Yes, it means we can still sell to American customers at the same price if we so choose, but for a lot of us, myself included, paying that tariff personally on every single American order completely decimates our profits. I did the math, and for the majority of my merch, if I ate the tariff cost myself, I would be selling at a loss. I would essentially be paying for the opportunity to give my art away. Could we factor the cost of the tariff into the prices of our items? Sure, but that comes with 2 very significant problems. Number 1, it means charging so much for them that the price hike is likely to drive customers away. Number 2, logistically speaking, how would we even do that? We'd have to raise the prices on all of our items for everyone, whether they're American or not. Or we'd have to make separate listings for all of our items, one version for Americans and one version for everyone else. Not only would that be massively time-consuming, it would heavily clutter the stores of any artists with a lot of listings, and it would leave us with the same problem of only being able to offer Americans a highly undesirable price point. It would just add insult to injury by showing them the price that everyone else gets by comparison. comparison too. If you use the DDU or DAP option, the buyer has to pay the tariff on the order before the item is delivered or even allowed to pass through customs. This arguably comes with even more problems. Your customers will end up having to pay way more for their order than they expected, since they're only charged that extra amount once it arrives and not when they order it. They'd buy a $30 shirt, have it show up, and after paying the tariff, learn that it's now actually a $40 shirt, at which point they can either pay that extra $10 and probably blame you and review bomb your store or at least never shop there again, or refuse to pay it and have the item sent back, presumably at your expense. This option pretty overtly screws over any American buying from your store, and it's actually so problematic and clunky and not functional that a lot of postal services are suspending it altogether so as to avoid the plethora of issues it tends to incur. So even if you're fine with screwing over your customers, or were at least planning on using this option after warning them about it and getting their informed consent to ship it that way anyway, you might not even be able to anymore in the very near future. For me and many others, all of this means we really only have one option that we can actually afford while still functionally running our businesses. Stop selling to the US. It's not a good option. It's not one that anyone wants. Personally, US-based orders made up 95% of the income I made from my store. Almost all of my orders were from Americans, and the hit to my finances resulting from no longer selling to them is massive. My store went from paying my grocery bills monthly to generating a projected $2 of profit per month. And based on how many American orders I've had to refund and how few orders I've received from anywhere else since this started, I don't doubt that projection's accuracy. I may as well no longer have a store, and if this does become permanent, I honestly might just close it. Canada's headlines are full of titles like "Small businesses don't know if they'll survive this," and "Tariffs are disproportionately destroying mom and pop shops." And I get why. This is unprecedentedly catastrophic for anyone who makes a living of any kind that involves shipping to American customers. And that very much includes non-American artists selling any kind of merch online. There is one kind of exception: print on demand. For anyone unfamiliar, it's when you use a third party like Printful or Printify to produce your merch on demand, as the name would suggest. You make the art and put it on a shirt, for example, and then add a listing for that shirt to your store, and every time someone buys one, your production partner automatically produces it and ships it directly from their warehouse to your customer, without it ever needing to even go through your hands. Utilizing print on demand right now means potentially getting around the tariffs as a non-American artist, because if the production partner is located in the States, they're only shipping it domestically to American customers, regardless of where you yourself are located, so tariffs wouldn't apply. This is still chaotic and unpredictable at the moment, given how many things are going to need to be changed to comply with the new standards, and they haven't been changed yet. Existing orders are being delayed and held indefinitely. Artists using print providers that don't have American warehouses are going to have to switch and figure out new solutions. Entire systems wherein the platform would choose the cheapest and nearest warehouse to the customer regardless of the country that warehouse is actually in. And we have no idea how long it will be until the American government addresses this loophole and starts finding a way to apply tariffs based on the seller's country of origin rather than the print providers. I will say that regardless, print on demand remains the most feasible option to continue to sell to Americans for now, even with all of these issues, even if it doesn't help artists who sell their work in a handmade format. And a lot of production partners are doing their best to keep it as safe as possible for non-Americans to keep doing business during this time, so long as you follow the instructions they provide. Personally, I'm too worried about the instability and uncertainty until things are clearer to keep using it. But the vast majority of my previous orders were for handmade items anyway, so it's an easier decision for me to make than it might be for others. Beyond the financial impact though, I also want to mention how overwhelmingly shitty this is on just a fundamental level. Americans make up a very large part of my audience, and they've offered so much support to my channel, my store, and my business as a whole over the years, that blanket banning them from that business feels like a betrayal, even if it's only out of necessity. I think a lot of people feel that way, like Americans are being unfairly punished here just as much as we are, because we're suffering from losing their business and refusing them ours, and they're being isolated from the rest of the world because the rest of the world can't afford to sell to them anymore. None of this is what anyone wants, and it's a nightmare. And it's a nightmare that is, as Canadian news outlets keep saying, disproportionately targeting the underdogs, both sellers and customers. And before I move on, I want to sincerely apologize to my American viewers. I feel like I'm letting you down, and I am so sorry for what's going on right now in pretty much every capacity. To my fellow non-American artists, please be careful moving forwards when it comes to selling your work internationally. Things are unprecedentedly tumultuous and unpredictable and scary, and I would advise you to err on the side of caution until a more concrete solution is reached. It might be a good time to start pivoting towards selling digital goods rather than physical, at least to some degree, even just experimentally. It's starting to seem like one of the only safe options right now. Reach out to your communities, build ties with fellow artists. Affected small businesses supporting small businesses is monumentally important right now, and collaborations could be at least of some help. To my American viewers, again, I'm so sorry that you're dealing with the similarly miserable other end of this, and I have to urge you to please understand that this isn't personal. You're probably going to be seeing a lot of your favorite non-American stores, small businesses, and artists no longer allowing you to purchase from them, and I'm sorry sorry for that. But please understand that we don't have a lot of options right now, and I think most of us would pick any other option over this one if we could. For now though, that's all from me. This has been more of an in-between update video, hopefully anyway, because that's assuming there will be a follow-up with a resolution. Thank you guys for your patience, and to all artists and viewers affected by the situation, I'm sorry, this sucks, and I truly do wish you the best getting through it. Before I go, I want to mention today's unofficial sponsor. Because of the massive loss of income, I have to try to supplement it somehow, and one of those ways is to point you towards my favorite affiliate link, JINGSKETCH. If you've ever wondered what brushes I use for my art, the answer is JINGSKETCHes, almost exclusively. I bought them the moment I bought my iPad, and I've used almost nothing else ever since. I literally have hundreds of brush packs that I've acquired and tried out over the years, and I still use only his for 99% of what I create, because none of them have ever come close. There are options for both Procreate and Photoshop, and they're my first recommendation, whether they're purchased through my link or not. I don't even care if you just Google them and buy them there, so long as you buy them, because they will be so ridiculously useful for your art that they warrant the hard sell. If you do want to support the channel though, the affiliate links will be in the description and pinned comment, so you can get the brushes and help me out during a tough time. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video, or at least found it informative, I guess. Special thank you as always to channel members Joseph Solomon, TC Pratt, Haruki Saluzzo, Peachy, King Good James, Art of Amethyst Fable, Extinction Animation, Andy the Hedgehog, Kaida Memer, Jazz, Just Sayori, Stardust, and Angry Shroomish, as well as patrons Batman, Kyle Lowe, Blue Swanson, Jamisha Walker, Alengshi, Kimmy Yen, Crazy Asar, Gantong, Grayson Xavier, Blah Mage, TC Pratt, Finn, Celine Merriman, Eldritchia, The Stray Dog, Ulura, Greg Noble, Decagon, Jenny Chan, Catbus, Mac, Lucy Yamajiki, Selena Beebe, Pride, Totally Shogun, Insomniac Sleep Schedule, Wing-Tang Wong, Marie Greer, Potato, Jazz, Void Walker, Latte Tabby, Christian Cook, Adam Starovietz, Doriaki, Arias, Hailstorm, Emo Queen Jules, and Keith Kruger, and I'll see you in the next one.